You know, it's horrible to be lied to constantly, every day. And that's what SeaWorld has done since day one, is lie. In the old days, when there was just Shamu, music would only play in the beginning, dramatic music. And they would introduce this killer whale beast of the sea, tamed by SeaWorld. And then they would proceed to do these stupid tricks with her. And one of them was the trainer would put their head inside her mouth. Now, do these trainers here feeding them look like they're in fear for their lives? No. Because these SR orcas are just big black and white dolphins and they eat fish. But to the public, this was amazing and mesmerizing and fascinating and incredible. They didn't even mention that she was a baby. Okay? They think they're seeing something, out of this world. And the lies just continued and continued. And even though I was a 10-year-old kid, I made some kind of connection to Shamu. We knew each other. We recognized each other. I visited her a lot. And I knew that she was unhappy. She was lonely. She was scared. And she was suffering. And I've always known it. And all the orcas I've known and made connections with, I know these things about them. And it has been incredible to watch SeaWorld use children, particularly, to promote their claims of taming them, especially in the old days. For a long time, there was the kiss in various forms. The one I remember the most, and it was used for a long time, was having a child climb up some stairs onto a platform and an orca rising full body out of the tank and planting their tongue on the child's cheek. And for extra money, a picture was taken, and if you paid that extra money, you got that picture of your child being kissed by an orca. Now, I don't remember what year it was or which SeaWorld, but a child toppled back over onto the platform. Not into the tank, thank God. They weren't hospitalized or hurt in any way. They just fell over onto the platform. Just that incident alone got rid of that version of the kiss immediately. No more stairs. No more high up in the air. Then there was tank level kiss or hug with an orca. Something happened, that ended. Then there was a tank level platform with a railing, and for many years they would bring out a young woman and she would get the kiss on the cheek. In the meantime, they keep having these incidents, with either trainers or the orcas would do something, not quite right, and they would change and they would adapt and they would pay out these settlements and they would, it was over. Now what they're reduced to is putting a child on a bench, having an orca swim by really fast to demonstrate water displacement. And this is part of their educational program because once blackfish came out. And see, like, the only time I ever had real hope about SeaWorld going under and going away for good was when blackfish came out. Because I'm still going in there and visiting these orcas at the Dine With tank. Still, I've been doing it, this is my 5th decade of going in there. Not as any kind of professional or wanting to make a documentary or any kind of expert, but just someone that loves them. Within a few months of blackfish coming out, attendance dropped so dramatically that I couldn't see how they could hang on. Independent vendors were leaving because they couldn't make a profit. Rides were closing. It was a ghost town in there. And I thought, there's just no way. This is going to end. But it didn't. I don't know how they hung on. Just like I don't know how they hung on during COVID-19. Being closed over a year, all 3 of them. I mean, they got a ton of federal and state money. And they made so much money for their cities in decades past that I am sure in some way, I don't have proof, but they must have got subsidized or loans or something to stay open during the blackfish years, those 3 years where hardly anybody was in there. But in early 2018, I walked in there to see the orcas at the Dine With tank. And I noticed that everything Shamu is gone. And Shamu was everything. And she was an SR orca. But everything's ripped away that has her name on it. And after I visited the orcas at the Dine With tank, I go around the corner to Shamu Stadium. And even that sign is gone. So I'm thinking to myself, what are these mothers up to now? Because I know they're up to something, and it's big. So for the first time in 20 years, I go to a show. And I'm sitting there, and I'm part of a small crowd, still small crowds in early 2018. And there's footage being played of the SR orcas. And this trainer is talking about these endangered SR orcas and how they're starving and in trouble. And if they can rescue them, possibly take part in rehabilitation and even conservation. This is their new goal now. Okay. I never left a show so livid. I never left SeaWorld so livid in my life. Anybody in the anti-captivity movement knows that SeaWorld is no friend of the SR orcas. They are the original killers and kidnappers of them. So I'm livid. I go back a couple months later and I go to a show and the words have changed. It's not rescue, rehab, and conservation. It's education, research, and conservation. And that clicked with the public, along with the brand new affordable housing courtesy of the tourist CEOs. Do you know that it costs $99 to go into SeaWorld for one day? Along with $25 to park your car there. That's just the start. Forget the food, the beer, the wine, the soda, the stuffed animals, the trinkets, all of that, which is outrageously overpriced. But just $99 to walk in the door and $25 to park your car. But if you pay $14 a month, every month, you, your spouse, and up to 4 kids can walk into SeaWorld 365 days a year. 6 people for $14 a month. That is a huge savings. So, because they're educators now, and because of the affordable pricing, and because they've taken the orcas pretty much out of the picture, and are abusing other sea mammals in there, torturing them, mainly the dolphins and the belugas. Okay? They're flourishing again. And what you can do with the dolphins now that you could never do before for decades, you can pet a dolphin. And this is what SeaWorld wants you to think is going on in there. See how there's only a couple of kids and this dolphin that, they always look happy. They're just whatever. But this is what it truly looks like. And I only had to look at Crunch in the eye one time, and I knew that that poor dolphin was shot through full of Valium to be able to endure being mauled and grabbed and touched and petted by all these hands from all four corners of the world. And they all are. All these dolphins are. You can pay $200 extra and your child can swim with a dolphin. Adult can too. For more extra money, your child can be kissed by a beluga. Okay? Because they have to keep the children involved to normalize captivity and make it okay. And it's very insulting to someone like me and for anybody that knows better. And now we have poor Lolita, who is the only SR orca left in captivity in the United States. And her fate lies in Noah Fisheries' hands. And she's putting on these shows for VIPs who we don't know who they are. And Noah Fisheries also lends their name, giving this BS educational program validation. She almost feels like a pawn for I don't know what. All right? But you got to understand. It's for SeaWorld's benefit. That's all these orcas exist for. The cash registers of SeaWorld Inc. That's it. And, I mean, look at Tilly. Tilly had already snapped. He'd already taken part with two other female orcas in killing a human being at another marine park. And SeaWorld Orlando still bought him and brought him here. And he killed two more people. Who did they blame? They blamed the person that wandered into the park. They blamed Dawn. They blamed Tilly, but never themselves. Not ever. That's who these people are. So, excuse me for having questions about what they're doing with Lolita. And we've had our hopes high for her many times in the past, only to be crushed over and over again. When I go to SeaWorld, I pay next to nothing, even less than the new pricing. I never drink anything, eat anything, nothing. I go to the dine with tank. I give those orcas love and compassion and connection with a human that cares about them, and I leave. And I feel good about that. And the last thing I see, but then when I get up and I walk out, the last thing I see is this great big huge sign that says SeaWorld Cares in big, bold letters. And it stings me. It burns me on the inside. Because that's the biggest lie of all. And I wish we could find a way to take the truth, what we know to be the truth, and use it in a big way against them. And I hope we find a way to do that soon.